Hey guys, Kalltorak here. Today, I am bringing you episode 2 of Off the Meta. The title isn't clickbait. I truly think that Thorns is going to change PoE, but not the game, its community. I was originally going to talk about the state of the PoE community and how some of its creators are definitely fueling the hate, but I'm delaying that till episode 3 probably. I'm releasing my first Thorns leveling guide this week. This might sound weird, but I don't consider any of my videos guides so far. I just consider them build showcases. I don't really feel qualified to guide anyone through this game, even after over 1500 hours. However, I get a lot of requests for leveling guides for Thorns, and the best way for me to learn guide making is of course to practice it. So, I'll be releasing a Thorns Ritualist leveling video in the next few days. I'm putting a lot of work into this and the mobalytics, so hopefully it'll be very easy for you to follow. I'll be looking for lots of feedback on it when it's out. This character is doing very well, by the way. I cleared the campaign in 9 hours, I'm already dominating Waystone 15s, cleared all of my Ascendancies, and I'm destroying Citadel bosses. The Thorns Ritualist was real, and I've done this on an insanely cheap budget, so if you've been interested in trying out Thorns, keep your eyes out on my upcoming Ritualist guides. Now, I get why a lot of people are hesitant to try Thorns.
I would never play a Thorns build.
A frequent comment I see is, it looks fun at times, but they are worried about a lot of the friction or problems that come with Thorns.
The primary thing that, at least when I'm watching your builds and everything, they don't look too, and I'm saying this playing Lightning Spear.
This is a fun thing, this is a fun thing. Here we go, boys. GG. See ya, boy. Boy.
So I don't think active is the right word. Maybe flashy is the right word?
It's the best part. Later, dweeb. No, I'm frozen.
Like, they don't have that flash, that big, like, kaboom.
Last, it was body go. Oh!
I know that you had, like, the Bira's screen clearing thing going on for a while. So how would you, like, apply that pizzazz to a Thorns build? Or do you think that's possible? Or is this just an archetype where it's like, all right, you are moving around, you're just killing stuff passively, there's never going to have that necessary flair to it?
Yeah. Get some. You can't stop the Thorns. So yeah, this is pretty common for how people think Thorns plays. If you look at a lot of my clips, or especially my videos from 0.1, Thorns was definitely a lot more idle, but right now, it's not quite that case. Whether the concern is doing your trials for your Ascendancy, the friction of having to stand still to get hit, it just being slow, boring, worried about the cost of it and having to get all the runes of teethings, or not being able to clear the content. This video isn't to convince you that there are zero problems with Thorns, but I want to hopefully convince you that you are overthinking all of your concerns here. My hope is that with this video, and with many of my upcoming Thorns leveling and endgame guides, that I can get you to consider giving Thorns a shot. First off, in terms of cost, I just leveled my Ritualist on a super cheap budget. I didn't use any runes of teething, which currently cost 9 exalts each. I only use gear that cost 1 exalt per or less. The entire leveling process was very cheap, and I got to maps in 9 hours. Most bosses fell over in less than 20 seconds, but if you invest into the best leveling gear for Thorns, you will one-shot most bosses in the campaign. Thorns is not a slog through leveling. Most of the bosses are a blast, and you are just flying through the zones using Rake. I'm not a speed leveler at all, and I was streaming my leveling for the Ritualist, so I was getting distracted by chat plenty. If you invested in the runes of teething and a good Thorn set, you could clear the campaign in 6 to 7 hours easily. I think that Thorns is going to be such a diverse playstyle that people's entire perspective is going to shift about it. Thorns is going to be a stat that is used in a lot of different builds. I mean, right now, it's already fairly diverse despite how limited it is, and it's evolving every day. I think the biggest problem is people assume that reflecting is the build. A lot of my clips I showcase are me standing still under a boss laughing like a maniac, but for a lot of the gameplay, Thorns functions like any other build. Your entire playstyle isn't revolved around this slow, methodical waiting for an attack to hit you. These just happen to be most of the fun moments I do show. You might not be a melee main, which is why you think this way. I play melee in most games, and if you've ever played any melee build in an ARPG, it is inevitable you are going to get hit, and you are going to get hit a lot during mapping. You are constantly in the middle of loads of enemies, so how can you avoid being hit? Thorns is a lot of our damage, but reflecting damage back isn't the only way we kill. I want to say 98% of the time in mapping, I am not thinking about getting hit to reflect Thorns. It just happens on its own. Most of the time I'm using an attack skill like any other build. What you are seeing right now, how does this play look different from any other Rake build? Or how does this play look different from any other Mace Strike build? I'm using the skill the exact same way any other build would 98% of the time. It's just a rare 2% of the game that you are actively having to be mindful of getting hit to deal damage. And for most of these moments, it's very fun. These moments are, generally speaking, boss fights. Now, this of course might not be for everyone, but boss fights as Thorns can be a lot of fun. 1. You have all the insane attacks that do many hits in 1 second. I show these clips all the time. 80% of my YouTube shorts are these clips. Anytime I do one of these bosses, I'm just hyped. You always are looking forward to them as a nice little Thorns treat. For most other bosses, Thorns is still honestly quite fun. A lot of people don't know this, but block and active block, like when you raise shield, fully negates the damage you would have taken. You take 0 damage. However, you still do Thorns damage and get stacks of barbs and quill burst. This makes most of the boss fights the super fun knowledge check of knowing which attacks you can't and can block safely to help enable Thorns. Very much like a Souls-like. I wouldn't really call this combo gameplay because it's honestly easier than you would expect it to be. For instance, I am able to full clear Trial of Secamus very easily on all my Thorns builds with Raise Shield and active block. I feel like Trials is the biggest fear point for most people when it comes to diving into Thorns. Seriously, it's probably my #1 comment besides how cool I am. I have an entire video on my channel showcasing Trial of Secamus right now, and plan on doing more in-depth guides for it. But believe me, and the people in the comments please echo this, getting your Ascendancy as Thorns is no problem at all. You can for very cheap get honor resistance relics, so even if you aren't good at blocking, you can make it to the end of Trial with plenty of honor left over. Since we have such good spread clear via Quill Burst and our Heralds, we clear a lot of the enemies without having to be hit anyways. Even farming level 80 Secamus is free. Active block and passive block just make everything so much easier. At some point, your passive block is so high, I almost never active block anymore. Thorns is essentially just a stat that can enhance your character's builds. You should be thinking of Thorns no different than you would think crit. There are different builds, like for Flicker Strike. You can have a Flicker Strike crit build. Well, one day there might also be a Flicker Strike Thorns build, where you are using Flicker Strike the exact same way you would in a crit build, but enhancing its damage with Thorns instead. We aren't there yet. Not enough tools for Thorns, but that's where we are headed. One of the biggest problems in both 0.1 and 0.2 was its AoE clear. But GGG isn't capable of stopping us. We will always find a way. Whether it's through my Bira's Reflect Thorns build, my Witch Hunter Thorns build, my Arctic Armor Poison build, my Reflect God Gemling, or any of my current 0.2 Thorns builds using Herald of Blood and Poison Spread. Thorns builds are capable of clearing entire screens. With every patch adding new skills, support gems, uniques, and classes, every single problem you have with Thorns will be solvable. And solving these problems is what's so much fun right now. My upcoming Ritualist guide will show you that I've solved many of the problems of Thorns. No, it's not perfect, but compared to where it was 2 weeks ago, Thorns looks so different. The recoup style has allowed me to push much deeper into pinnacle content than before, and with the new Herald of Blood poison tech, we have solved the tedium of mapping. There are still some bosses that are still too painful to fight as Thorns. The biggest downside is how unique heavy Thorns is. That's one of my main reasons why I went Ritualist. The extra ring slot is huge. Because we are so unique heavy, we are really limited in how we can push our damage and defenses. I have an entire Thorns feedback video coming. One of the major requests is that Crown of the Pale King effect gets changed to a Spirit Gem, maybe even combined into Scavenge Plating. Right now though, because of Crown of the Pale King, it's impossible to solo self-found start as Thorns, and League starting as Thorns is just a pain, even with trade. When the entire playstyle is limited behind a single low-level helmet, this feels awful. And seriously, you can't play Thorns without Crown of the Pale King. This is honestly the biggest limiting factor to Thorns right now, but I'll be going into that in another video. I just want to make it clear to everyone that yeah, Thorns isn't perfect. Don't expect to easily clear a +4 Arbiter. You can kick +2 Arbiter's butt though. Thorns in its current state isn't pretty, but it is insanely fun and worth trying out, if not in this patch, sometime soon. After watching my upcoming Thorns Ritualist videos, you might decide that Thorns still isn't for you. However, I hope in time you will see that Thorns isn't just a meme build or this weird slow playstyle where you are waiting to get hit, but a build that engages with the game in a very, very fun way. What did I mean when I said Thorns will change PoE? Well, I'm hoping that once people start playing builds like this, it will change their perspective on what can be fun in this game. There should be no world where Thorns is a #1 meta build on PoE Ninja. I think both myself and the developers would agree on that. A style where you can ultimately be very idle and clear all content on an insanely cheap budget, just kind of standing there, that's not good or healthy for the game. I don't think anyone wants that. But I think Thorns is existing in a realm where it's just viable enough that it's fun, but it's not strong enough that it breaks the game. I think that once more people start engaging with Path of Exile 2 with builds like this, that's when we will see the change I hinted at in the title. The game will play the exact same way it always has, but people will change how they think about the game and hopefully open their eyes to trying out more fun builds from time to time. Thorns might not be your main playstyle, but I promise you that if you try out Thorns one day, you will have a good time. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Keep your eyes out for my next 2 videos. I'll be making a separate guide for both leveling and endgame for my Thorns Ritualist. Apologies to Darth microtransaction, we once again ran out of time. Take care boys, see you in the next one.